Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's your boy Dueling Wave with another Genesis banger here for you today, and that's Genesis staples, free and low-cost staples for the October 27th points list Genesis format. Let's go!
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable
Dueling Wave. Guys, before we move any further, I'd just like to real quick shout out the Discord. Discord is sick. Please go join. We've got a nice community, growing community, is obsessed with Genesis. We have alt format stuff, we have TCG stuff, we have deck lists, we discuss. It's sick. We're growing. We're still young and new, but we're growing. So if you guys would like to partake and join our community and playing some tournaments, playing some games, theorycraft with us, conversate with your boy, join us down below in the description. Follow that link after you watch this video, of course, and I'll see you over there. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. So the recent list straight up cooked all of our good staples. Not all of them, but like so many of our good staples. Like Lost Impulse, you know what I mean? Like just overhit everything. So your boy took the time out of his day to find the free and cheap 5 points or less staples in this format that you can still run in your decks that will make a huge difference. Who else is making videos about the entire staple list of Genesis? Not a single person. They took our pots. They took our Dragon's Mind. They took our aforementioned impulses. We even lost our freaking upstarts, bruh. Konami, what did Genesis Phantasme do to you? But what can we run now, and how do we compensate for this problem? The category we'll lead with is free hand traps. We're losing hand traps left and right. With losing impulse, I thought that would be a permanently free hand trap for, I don't even know how. I never assumed they would hit impulse. It even has a brick that you have to run. Like if you draw fire attack or whatever, and like you just can't, like you brick on fire attacker. Like I thought that was a pretty fair payoff, especially for like a draw 2 discard 1. I don't know. But still, we have some really impactful free hand traps in this format, which is nice to see because hand traps are so impactful for the game. And the list starts with, you got DD Crow, you got Skullmeister, you got the new Fleur-de-Lis, the Thunderbolt. Very good card if you can run it, right? It sets punishment from the deck. But you have to not be able to use your extra deck for 2 turns. Can you stomach that, right? So that's why I think we're not seeing Fleur-de-Lis in every single deck. But I think Fleur-de-Lis in the right deck will be crazy. He's already getting teched into Eldritch builds, but I think we're going to see it teched into even more stuff soon. Especially because so many decks don't even rely on the extra deck. Like for main win con, like Fire Kings or even Vanquish Soul. Like they didn't even care about the extra deck that much other than like to just be an additional end board piece. Aside from those, we have a little bit more like ones like Miradora, which could be very good in its own format. I think K9 cards do this, where you have to like send them and then you can activate the effect, where Miradora can hit one of those and then you just can't even activate the effect, which is really cool. It's like that Black Goat Laughs effect. It's also a decent like board breaker potential. You could stop a monster from activating its effects to negate you, or it has to answer Miradora, which is pretty good. Other than that, we have some like cases that aren't good in all circumstances, but that could be decent in the right format, such as Ally of Justice Psycho Reader, Lancia, No Material, and the Herald Trap, hand traps, which is light green, light purple, light, and don't want to forget Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, which is a good card in a lot of formats. The only problem here is it is free, but it could be a problem because so many good extra deck monsters are pointed. So you would have to run this card for free, yes, but then you would have problems in those extra deck monsters unless they were 0 points. If you guys watched the Discord Genesis tournament that we dropped, if I remember to post it up here, if you guys want to check that out, if you guys remember watching that Discord format, Genesis tourney, DD Crow overperformed like a mofo. That card was insane. It would literally, I mean, we were calling it generic poor man's Ash. You know what I mean? Like it was hitting so many decks at key junctures. So Crow still just an insane card. They still left us some tools to be able to play, right? And theoretically, you're going to be using these 0 point cards in very high pointed engines that really can't afford you like anything else. So you already have a great deck that's a really top tier engine, and then on top of that you add the Crow or the Maestro, whatever. That supplements your strategy enough that it should be a fair footing fight with like decks that they've kind of have less points, past meta stuff that needs to be able to win. So it all kind of balances out in the end. The next category I want to cover is cheap hand traps, meaning 5 points or less. So Konami threw us a bone here in the past, like in giving us, we had 2 5-point hand traps go down to 3 points, which on the surface doesn't look like much, but it actually is a big impact because we go from having to dedicate 15 points to Ghost Ogre or Ghost Mourner, which are really good cards, but for 5 points might be too much. You have thrown in Ghost Ogres in your deck as opposed to like Lockbirds. Let's say you only had like points to go. Would you seriously consider dropping 1 droll to be able to play a Ghost Ogre, like additional Ghost Ogre or additional Ghost Mourner? No, you weren't. Those cards were not good enough to warrant a spot, but now that they're even lower, they've been lowered down to 3 points, you can stomach it now. Now, for the price of 2 previous Ghost Mourners or Ghost Ogres, you can get 3 and an extra point available. So pretty solid deal there. Now, Impulse did go to 5, as mentioned previously. Is weird, but still, in some rare cases, I could see some people still run Impulses, especially in decks that kind of brick. For example, like Fire Kings, right? Well, to be fair, Fire Kings have a 100-point engine. That's kind of the first thing that came to mind. But a deck similar to Fire Kings, which is like a deck that runs a lot of high-level monsters in the main, you can see like this kind of card because it gives you like a tribute fodder, right? Like set up, and you get to discard one, where a lot of their cards are really good in the graveyard. So you could see that kind of that type of gameplay would still be conducive to possibly running Impulse. So Impulse is still on this list just because he's not going to be as ubiquitous as he was before, but he still could be ran in the right build for. It's all about the right type of scenario for each of these cards. Because if they were perfect, amazing cards, they would be 15, 20 points like Ash Blossom or Dominus cards or whatever. Other options, a cheap hand trap tier, 5 or less, is Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell was one of the hand traps that was at 5 along with Ogre, and that just stayed. And I'd like to possibly see this card come down to 3 as well. I think it's okay at 5. It's just Ghost Bell is so particular and so special in its application that it going to 3, it still might not be like. And I think the only ones we really have to be like of, not really too. I wouldn't trip if people were just running 12 hand traps in their deck, as long as they're like hand traps. But like the problem in the TCG was when they were running triple Ash, triple Nib, triple Veiler, triple like all these cards that are just such good trades in value, whereas like your opponent's running triple Ogre, triple Bell, triple Mourner, and God knows what. A lot of these cards are use effects, right? So like you only use this card once per turn, instead of like a Veiler or an Imperm where you could like double Imperm your opponent, double Veiler. Ash was such a value that even though it was a hard once per turn, you're still going to use it because you're like, screw that, Nib as well. These cards, like you brick on them, you draw multiple Ogres, multiple Bells, you could just lose the game outright on that, and that's a risk you are willing to take. So I think Bell is a good value here, but I think I could also see it go to lower in the future. But to be fair, that's not what the video is about. I'm just talking about generic 5 points or less hand traps. Another one that's really good is Meows, right? You get a Mulch Army card for less than 5 points. It's 3 points in this format. That's really good. Depending on the format that can pop up, depending on the deck that you face, it's a great side deck option if your opponent's summoning a lot from the graveyard, the banishment, right? If you're playing against Eldritch, against Ritual Beast, to be fair, okay, on the video, Meows was dropped, but like, it isn't that important. It's not going to summon 10,000 times, so you could do like a 1-for-1 trade and kind of get to stop. But like graveyard decks exist in this format, in the Banish Zone decks, Ritual Beast would get cooked by this, and decks of those like of that ilk, right? Meows is a great option for a deck that's got huge points on it, like giant points on its engine. Other really powerful, you could almost qualify them as like Muns if you have 15 to 30 points, is Nibiru and Droll and Lockbird. These cards are insane, probably the best values in the whole format. For 5 points each, you get Droll and Lockbird, which is a floodgate that shuts down so many different crazy combo decks that are just says no to like the most degenerate stuff in the format, which I'd like to see Konami deal with on the list, not with floodgate hand traps, but is what it is. We're still in the infancy. We're getting there. We're not there yet. Nibiru is absolutely crazy in this format, especially going to 5. To reach your opponent's board, there's not a lot of Omni Negates to stop it, and when you do, because we don't have the extra monster zone no longer, that token can become a floodgate, because the only decks that can easily out this token is ritual decks and fusion decks, and you have to have specific like or whatever that works with like that token in those decks. So if you have if you're playing against a Xyz deck or a Synchro deck or even some ritual decks, that card can just entirely stun them just because the function of that token being on the field there, because it only gives them then 4 slots. It can be harder for them to OTK you. It can be harder for them to set up interrupts, because whatnot, you need like 2 monsters to make 1 monster, right? And that 1 is clogging it enough that you can't get to that 4th interrupt. So if you understand what I'm saying, like there's 2 monsters to make 1, right? Yeah, so you have 1 spot occupied, and you have the token. That's 2 slots. Now you have three free slots. Now you use 2 more monsters to make another interrupt, right? So you have 2 interrupts right now on the field, but you have only 1 slot available. 1 slot, thumb or finger, which one you want. 1 slot available on the field. You cannot summon that additional monster to Xyz summon or synchro summon to make the interrupt, right? And some people say, well, they shouldn't be making 4 interrupts anyway. Sometimes interrupts can be fair. Like they're just like trades 1-for-1s, like they're not that bad. And still, Nibiru does floodgate that aspect of so many decks. So really interesting mechanic there. Can't wait to see how Nibiru interacts in this format, but I think that is huge. That is huge. So if you're not running Nib should probably be like foremost. Nib and Droll should be first and foremost on your mind whenever you're deck building if you have the points. I just want to real quick cover that's over 5 that probably deserves its be recognized, and it's Fulos. Fulos, if you have like points to spare, it can just win you certain matchups. So like the only card over 5 that I feel like is still a pretty budget option. So Fulos is still crazy. Like 21 points, put it in your deck. It's crazy. Board breakers are really good in this format because they kind of do to play board breakers. So they gave us some really, really powerful cards that I think if they were in like trap form, they would not be 0 points. But because they're board breakers, they let us have it so we can actually interact with our opponents. And those cards are such like Dark Ruler No More and Ultimate Slayer. These cards are absolutely insane. They can negate an entire board or out an entire board. Yes, Ultimate Slayer does require you to run possibly some pointed cards like Intis, but if you run Garura, which is free, you can wipe entire boards. Malong is free. I think Meteorologic Aggregator is free. There's just a bunch of cards that are still free that Ultimate Slayer just works with and just cooks. You stuff like Sky Blaster, right? That new Sky Blaster rank 5 that you can Ultimate Slayer with for an XYZ and pop a set card on the field. So it's huge. You can pair that with cards like Flip Face Down. So bam, you're like they're monsters. So there's cards are probably the MVP of the format and are like you can almost like a deck. Also, another thing that they left free, which is really good in this format, is the tribute your opponent monster cards, right? So you have like Kaijus, you have your Lava Golem, your Sphere Mode, your Santa Claus, your etc. Kurikara Div Incarnate, right? These cards are absolutely crazy. They're 0 points. If your deck can stomach to run them, like they don't need their normal summon, Mode and Lava Golem are your way to go. These cards are crazy. They clear entire boards. They're cracked. And Sphere Mode, weirdly enough, because just like Nibiru, because there is no links in this format, it's very hard to just remove it from the field. So if you like to get crazy, you want it to Sphere Mode them, and then it comes over to you on the next turn, you could tech in like go 4,000 attack, okay, that little bit too like brain, just saying, like, but it's hard to out again, and then it's even more valuable of a card as well. But if you can't run those cards, then just run the Kaijus. They're 1-for-1 trades, but they're still really, really good. And sometimes if you draw multiples, you just give them the weakest Kaiju, right? And then you can special summon the Kaiju to your field, and then that Kaiju, if it's like, I don't know if you're running any of the big ones, but like 300, like Dogoran or the Thunder King, you can just swing over another monster, so you can clear their board very easily with 2 Kaijus. Now, swing back to board breakers. Their great values, along with Slayer and Dark Ruler, are cards like Gordian Slicer, Herald of the Abyss, Hey Trunade, and other spell trap removal like Twin Twisters and Cosmic Cyclones. Lightning Vortex, if you can spare the discard. Book of Lunar Eclipse as well, if you can spare a discard also, right? Books 2 cards, and it's free. It's like Book of Eclipse, but without the drawback of the draw when they get flip face up. And then more targeted stuff like Enemy Controller and Final Bringer of End Times, which require you to kind of 2-for-1, which in certain cases would be good. If you're going second into a board, you normal summon a monster, the monster has an effect, and your opponent tries to chain and to negate it, you can Final Bringer of End Times, pop your monster and pop another monster on their field, bam, you get your search off, you dodge a negation, and then you still pop them. But it has to be targeting negation, but still, like, Controller does this as well. It's very, very, very powerful interactions, but they have to be used skillfully, which is why I like that these are free, and I like these cards being incentivized to be used is a good thing. Now we'll move on to good board breakers that are 5 points or lower. Over here, our work's kind of cut out for us because we don't have as many. Konami just kind of these away. Board breakers are still kind of a little bit too expensive, but they did, some of the spell trap removal down a peg, and I guess even Lightning Storm got moved down a peg, which can kill monsters. So, but we're not talking about that. That thing's like 20 points still. We've got Dark Hole at 3 points. Dark Hole is a great value. It's like Yeki, but it's you can use it to actually proc off some of your effects. Like, for example, if you have dinos or some other deck that triggers off destruction, boom, Dark Hole actually becomes a combo enabler and a board breaker. So it's dual utility. 3 points, great option. Another card that most people don't consider a board breaker, but it's like a really good staple, is Foolish Burial Goods. The card's insane. You can use this card, Foolish Burial a Black Goat Laughs, which, yes, has points. It's a more expensive card, we're comfortable with here. But if you drop the Black Goat Laughs, or that Black Goat Laughs can literally just floodgate your opponent. Whatever monster they have on the field, you just call that monster's name, Black Goat Laughs, and bam, that monster cannot be activated. So therefore, like, they have to either react to the Black Goat Laughs, or still just remove that negate or whatever from the field, like no longer valid. Which is a really good interaction, on top of it being part of your engine, which can enable stuff if you send a certain spell trap from your deck to go off. So overall, Foolish Burial Goods as well. People don't think about this, but it's a really good value, and it could be used as a board breaker as well. Another option, Book of Eclipse. You can flip your opponent's board face down. You do have to start removing that stuff because when it flips, they'll get draws. But a great board breaker at 5 points. Certain formats, it just cooks. And then lastly, board breakers is Forbidden Chalice. Those cards are at 5 points, maybe a little bit too expensive, but it's a card to be on the lookout for if they ever drop it. I think 3 points is more reasonable for a card like this, where you dedicate 9 points. It's a good going first and going second card. It's probably why they don't want to give it less points, because it's so good going first. If you draw, you just set it. It's like a imperm, which is really insane. But it's a card in certain formats that could be really, really devastating. And then lastly, I just want to cover a few cards like traps, staples in this format. Dogmatica Punishment, cards like Compulse, cards like Torrential Tribute, Ice Dragon's Prison. Basically the Eldritch, like old school like cards. If you weren't like for opponent, these are the cards you were running, right? Discard cards, trade with your opponent, and whatnot. You've got your breakthrough skill, your cards of its ilk like Lost Wind, and I think there's another one that I'm missing. Like Titanocider, is that the one? It's the one that it's basically like Lost Wind, just a different version. And there's also like the 2-for-1 trades, trap cards that are still pretty good if your deck is graveyard based. For example, such as Dynamiscus, Karma Cut, such as Windwing Blast, Heaven Raigeki Break, right? These cards that you can like or whatever to pop or banish or whatever your opponent's stuff. These cards are very devastating. That could be in the right build very good. Like if BA got some support, all of a sudden these cards could potentially be really strong. But there's still a ton of cards that are out there that we still need to discover and figure out how they relate in terms of Genesis format. So we could talk about this all day, but these are just some basics, some kind of obvious ones that I want to bring to light to get your guys like rolling, so you guys can what potential's out there you can use in your decks. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe down below, like the video, and comment. Let me know if we missed anything that you've been cooking with in this format that we can enlighten ourselves and enlighten our card choices. Thank you for your support. Every time you guys subscribe and like and everything, it gives me so much gas to keep bringing these videos to you. So thank you guys for your support. Much love, and I'll see ya as always